here's Crowder, the little clip of him playing a recording from his friend Jeremy Boring. Crazy stuff. Look at this.
They don't get deals that...
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand. They can be wage slaves for a little bit. They can be wage slaves.
Now, this whole thing about wage slaves, that's not a term that's offensive. That's a term that you use like, okay, you're starting out, you're a wage slave. Okay, you're 19 years old, 21 years old, working at a company, working in the mailroom, work your way up. You're a brand new influencer. You get a deal from the Daily Wire. You're over there for a while. They license your content. They own that content while you're there. And when you leave, you're a star. You're famous. Whatever you produce after that is yours. Daily Wire doesn't own it. That's just what it is. You work your way up. That's all that he was trying to say. So why is that an offensive thing? And why were you recording him? And why would you record him like a week from today rather than back in October when you first started negotiations? And if the terms of the deal were so bad and they were so egregious, then why did you counter offer with more money rather than just saying back then, oh, these are bad terms, I don't want to sign that because you guys are dependent upon big tech and we got to fight against big tech. Anyway, let's play this from Candace Owens. And of course, again, this will be in the box.
At the end of the day, I think what happened, this is completely my opinion, by the way, so I'm not blinking twice, I'm not under duress, is that Steven Crowder became a free agent and he's feeling a little vulnerable right now, right? He's used to working for other organizations. He has some guaranteed pay. And he thought that Daily Wire were actually going to meet him at $120 million. They didn't, they declined. And he's still feeling a little shaky on that. It's scary to go out on your own. I thought about it. I thought about going out on my own. It's a lot of work. Maybe down the line I will. But it's a scary thing to go out, to step out on your own and say, I'm going to do this thing completely by myself. As Jeremy pointed out, Steven's not done that before, right? And so to do this, he pulled a move in which he was going to try to take a bunch of people that were subscribed to the Daily Wire and start his own company. So essentially saying, I'm the hero, I'm the martyr, follow me because I'm not like those guys. And then he was going to start his own shop. And that's what he's trying to do. And some people fell for it and said, I'm with you to the end. I'm Mug Club till I die.
By the way, Candace is hilarious. Just straight up hilarious. Like she's being dead serious right now, but she's funny. Shout out to Candace.
And didn't understand that really nothing happened here other than nobody wanted to pay Steven Crowder $120 million. So he turned to his viewers who he thinks are stupid enough at least not to understand how business negotiations work, right? Like this is like normal, you kick it back and forth. And they were gonna make up for his loss. So people that are upset by his video, the millions of people who watched it, are now going to give him $1, whatever it costs to be in the Mug Club. And they're going to become the $120 million that he feels that he deserves. First and foremost, I'm going to say this, unrelatable. Unrelatable. People are trying to pay for bacon and eggs right now at the grocery store, trying to buy a steak once a week. And you're over here crying because somebody couldn't meet you at $120 million. And it is crying. I don't like it. It was a total move. There are plenty of things that happen across all organizations in the conservative movement where I will say that I empathize with Steven Crowder and saying that sometimes you feel like a cynic, which is like, is everybody selling out? Are people doing this, people doing that? There are a lot of things that Daily Wire has done that I disagree with. There's a lot of things that Turning Point has done that I disagree with. There are things perhaps that PragerU has done that I disagree with. I'm
gonna pause it right here. What she's saying is correct about, certain organizations, things that they've done that you may not like or agree with. That's correct. But see, the thing about Crowder is that he said Jeremy Boring was his friend from Daily Wire. So if that's your friend, certain things they do, certain practices they may have, you're not going to air them out like that. You're not going to record a conversation to put it out there to the public and try to make him be some kind of villain. If that's your friend, you talk to him behind the scenes, try to get it figured out that way. You don't air the dirty laundry out there, because I know quite a bit about a lot of people. I've seen so much, I know so much that y'all would never know, because I keep it to myself. I've been known that Crowder was not a good person, that he does bad business, not necessarily as far as financially, but he doesn't treat people right. I've been known that, but I'm not going to say a word. Why? I'm not a hater. He hadn't done anything to me. It's just called a certain level of courtesy. I'm not out here trying to attack people to make myself become rich or whatever. I'm good just doing what I do, how I do it, being an honest person, being a stand-up guy. That's just me. But some people are a little bit different. I think Crowder is one of these guys that's a little bit different. Let's keep on going here.
Done that I disagree with. I have worked with all of these companies, right? But to do a total move and go out to the public rather than trying to resolve these things and these slight differences behind the scenes, and to make it seem like you're the hero and you're the true one and you keep it authentic when something really nothing happened other than you didn't like an initial term sheet. And all you had to do was tell them that and tell them what you didn't like and go back and forth with lawyers like everybody else. I think it's crappy. I think Steven is a little egocentric. He probably will do better on his own. I don't think he knows how to play on a team. And by the way, the last thing I'm going to say, because I'm going on Tim Pool tonight, so I'm going to say it anyways later, is that I'm pretty sure, wasn't it Steven Crowder who also screwed over somebody he used to work with? Was it not Gay Jared? Because he had him tied up in a contract. Wasn't that Steven Crowder who did that? So is he supposed to be the moral high bar? Are we not supposed to call him out for that? Here's the thing. Steven, why don't you release not Gay Jared from his NDA and allow him to talk about how he felt he was treated by you? Because I know that at the Blaze, everyone says that you're actually not that nice. You treat people poorly, but you bring in so much revenue that everybody just has to take it. So I don't like it. It stinks to high heaven. And I'm calling you out on that because I think it was crappy that you threw mud on me. Did it the first time via a tweet a long time ago. You're not doing it a second time. Total move.
Wow. Shout out to Candace. Oh, my goodness. Man, Candace tore him to pieces. And there was more of this, of course, on the Tim Pool podcast. We don't have that much time right here to cover it. So I'm going to go ahead and close by saying this. I know Crowder has a lot of fans, a lot of people that like him. They enjoy his content. I'm no hater. Some are going to try to say, oh, you're jealous, ABL. Ain't no jealousy going on. Don't get misunderstood, because I could have been said this about Crowder. I've been on this about Crowder. I know a lot about a lot of people I won't say anything about. I keep my mouth shut because I have no reason to. Why would I just make a video attacking somebody? Why? All I'm doing right now was telling you that what Crowder is saying is not really a real thing. Okay, he has a website called stopbitcoin.com. And you would think that he made the website after the video about Jeremy Boring and whatnot became public, but he made that website last year, December the 12th? Like it was before all this stuff became public. And the negotiations for the contract started in October, November, and there wasn't any kind of communication since then when he was like, nah, rather than 12.5 a year, I want 30 a year. After that, there was no communication. Then all of a sudden, he calls Jeremy, trying to catch up about the kids, like, having a friendly phone call because that's his quote unquote friend, right? Then they get to talking about the contract negotiations that went sour, and he records it. It puts it out a week later, telling him, I didn't want to do this. If you didn't want to do it, why did you record it a week ago when the negotiations stopped 3 months ago or 2 months ago last year? What are we even doing? This is a way for him to try to get money. If it's not about money, then why would you be talking about negotiations? Then why worry about cash at all? Just go do your own thing for free. Don't even entertain any kind of business offers. If you're not monetized on YouTube, then do it for free. If it's not about money, of course it's about money. Let's not play games here. Because like I say, if it wasn't about that, then he wouldn't have counter offered the $30 million a year over the 12.5. And I bet you this, as I close for real this time, if you would have gotten $30 million a year rather than the 12.5, you wouldn't have heard a word about any kind of unfair terms, all this and that in the contract. The unfair terms in the contract came when he's trying to bully Jeremy Boring and Daily Wire into an unfair contract with him to try and save face with him. That's what's going on, at least in my humble opinion. Or rather than trying to bully them into the contract, he's just trying to make them look bad, trying to attack them to siphon off their viewers. It's just that simple. In my humble opinion, and in the opinion of most people that are watching this, it was about Daily Wire. Before I get to that, I just want to say I'm not really a fan of Steven Crowder, full disclosure. Not really a fan of his. The humor doesn't really land with me, but I recognize what he does on YouTube. He has a really big following, really big base of those that love his content and love him personally, love the whole team he has. He's been around for a very long time. He's probably the biggest conservative who is YouTube centric right now, right alongside Tim Pool and guys like that. And before I go too far, let's go ahead and get into the videos. Of course, these will be in the description if you want to see and hear them without my commentary.
But for the first time, I have to say that I believe many of those in charge in the right-leaning media are actually at odds with what's best for you, the viewer, the customer, and more importantly, the country. We here at Mug Club, we thought that we were all in this together, that we were fighting the media, entertainment, industrial complex. We thought that we were all genuinely taking it to big tech. But too many of those in charge of the big conservative platforms are verifiably in bed with them.
Let's pause right here. Now, he's not going to name names in this video, but how many big conservative platforms are there? It ain't that many. And let's just understand this. Crowder has worked for several big platforms before. First, it was PJTV, backed by a billionaire. Then CRTV, same thing. Then, and most recently, The Blaze with Glenn Beck. Similar situation. So he's not on any of those anymore. He left The Blaze recently. So how many other groups are there? Is he referring to his old employers? I don't think so, because why would he be saying it right now? He's talking about another conservative platform. How many more of them exist? He's not going to name names, but you might as well name names. That's like if Crowder went on there and said, hey, you know what? There's this YouTuber I don't like. He wears the same color shirt as me, a 1776 hat, and he has a gray beard with a black mustache. But I didn't name any names. I digress.
Big tech is in bed with Big Con. The people you thought, the people I thought were fighting for you, a lot of it has been a Big Con. Now, I'm specifically avoiding naming names or going after individuals in this video because I genuinely hope that those I'm addressing, and you know who you are, have a change of heart. It's never too late to do the right thing. Guys, this is a genuine plea. We can all do better. We can all do better. It doesn't have to be this way. And please, don't make me have to provide receipts.
Okay, so what he's probably talking about is the offer that Daily Wire gave him to go over there and work for them. Okay, let's be clear. Work for them. He would get paid by them to put out content on their platform. Now, in the offer, we'll get to the video from Jeremy from Daily Wire in a minute. In the offer, they're saying, hey, if you get banned from YouTube, we will give you less money. Now, some may see that as, oh, you don't want to fight big tech. You're just going to bend to their will. It's like, nah, it's about business because you're a YouTuber. I'm a YouTuber as well. This is the biggest platform. If I'm just by myself, not with a big company, and all of a sudden I get demonetized on YouTube or they cut my money, I lose the money. I can't expect anybody to pay that money for me. I lose the money. Same thing with Daily Wire. If they lose the money, Crowder expects them to just take the hit and not have that loss be shared with him. Now, if he doesn't want that in the contract, it's called negotiation, rather than going to the internet and being cryptic talking about, oh, well, this is about a culture war. Nah, it's not about a culture war. It's about your contract negotiations, and you're not doing it properly. Where's your lawyer at? Get the half-Asian guy on the horn and work out some details if you don't want to do it like that. And if you don't want the YouTube clause to be in there, then take less money. Also, I think there was a rumor that I think Jeremy might have said it from Daily Wire, but the contract was for $50 million for 4 years. $50 million for 4 years. Now, I think in that money, Crowder had to, sort of some of the expenses of production. But that's, you talking about NFL football player money, right? Big money. Allegedly, Crowder wanted $120 million. And people are saying, oh, well, he brings in $10 million a month, $120 million a year. So 120 shouldn't really be that much of a jump for Daily Wire. First of all, how do you know how much money Daily Wire has to be able to spend? Okay. 120 M's is not a small amount of money. Okay. I know we live in an inflationary period, but that's still quite a bit of money. First. Second, if he makes that much on his own, speaking about Stephen Crowder, then why do you need Daily Wire to pay you any money? Why not do it on your own? Start your own platform. If you want to be fully independent and whatnot, do it by yourself. Don't go to Daily Wire. Don't be talking about them and making videos. Oh, that we're not on the same page. It don't make no sense. And if you made that on The Blaze, why'd you leave The Blaze? If you made that on CRTV, why'd you leave CRTV and PJTV? But I digress.
Since she essentially called Steven Crowder's viewers dumb.
At the end of the day, I think what happened, this is completely my opinion, by the way, so I'm not blinking twice, I'm not under duress. is that Steven Crowder became a free agent and he's feeling a little vulnerable right now.
Maybe that's true.
Right? He's used to working for other organizations. He has some guaranteed pay. And he thought that Daily Wire were actually going to meet him at $120 million. They didn't. They declined. And he's still feeling a little shaky on that. It's scary to go out on your own. I thought about it. I thought about going out on my own. It's a lot of work. Maybe down the line I will. But it's a scary thing to go out, to step out on your own and say, I'm going to do this thing completely by myself. As Jeremy pointed out.
This is all fine, right? This is all fine.
Steven's not done that before, right? And so to do this, he pulled a move in which he was going to try to take a bunch of people that were subscribed to the Daily Wire and start his own company.
That's a lie. Okay. At no point did Steven Crowder ever say, leave the Daily Wire and come sign my thing. Okay. So again, this is the stuff that Candace does all the time that people ignore because she's right about a lot of things too. But like, that's just a lie.
So essentially saying, I'm the hero, I'm the martyr, follow me because I'm not like those guys. And then he was going to start his own shop. And that's what he's trying to do. And some people fell for it and said, I'm with you to the end. I'm Mug Club till I die. And didn't understand that really nothing happened here other than nobody wanted to pay Steven Crowder $120 million.
Also not true. Again, I think the talking points went out at Daily Wire to just really focus on the money. He at no point complained about the actual money offered in the contract.
So he turned to his viewers who he thinks are stupid enough at least not to understand how business negotiations work, right? Like this is like normal. You kick it back and forth. And they were going to make up for his loss. So
again, she's saying she thinks his viewers are stupid is what she's really saying here. The idea that because they didn't turn on him, right? So her implication is that, well, they must be stupid if they back Steven Crowder.
People that are upset by his video, the millions of people who watched it, are now going to give him $1, whatever it costs to be in the Mug Club, and they're going to become the $120 million that he feels that he deserves. First of all, I'm just going to say this, unrelatable. Unrelatable. People are trying to pay for bacon and eggs right now at the grocery store, trying to buy a steak once a week.
This still gets me. Girl, you got a $500 haircut. You've got professional makeup on your face. You've got a probably $500 dress. You're sitting in a multi-$100,000 studio. Unrelatable. Girl, stop. You have a whole production crew. Unrelatable. Also, people who are struggling are not buying steak once a week. I don't even buy steak once a week. It's expensive. Like, what do you mean? Like, that part is like one of the most ridiculous statements. Like, girl, look at you. Look in the mirror. You're in a $1 million production studio, thousands of dollars in makeup and jewelry on, professional crew, and you're like, that's just not very relatable to Joe Sixpack.
And you're over here crying because somebody couldn't meet you at $120 million. And it is crying. I don't like it. It was a total bitch move. There are plenty of things.
What? Huh?
Things that happen across all organizations in the conservative movement where I will say that I empathize with Steven Crowder and saying that sometimes you feel like a cynic, which is like, is everybody selling out? Are people doing this, people doing that? There are a lot of things that Daily Wire has done that I disagree with. There's a lot of things that Turning Point has done that I disagree with. There are things perhaps that PragerU has done that I disagree with. I have worked with all of these companies.
I think it's curious that you have worked with all of them. Why do you bounce around so much?
Right? But to do a total bitch move and go out to the public rather than trying to resolve these things and these slight differences behind the scenes.
He wasn't interested in resolving the issues. He was interested in exposing what he felt was like a predatory contract that also young content creators also signed. That's what he has said about how he's motivated. Maybe you're right. Maybe it was all part of an evil plan. It's entirely possible. I don't know. Like, yeah, we talk, but maybe he's playing me.
And to make it seem like you're the hero and you're the true one, and you keep it authentic when nothing happened other than you didn't like an initial term sheet. And all you had to do was tell them that and tell them what you didn't like and go back and forth with lawyers like everybody.
I think it's curious that the initial term sheet even had those things, though.
Everybody else. I think it's crappy. I think Steven is a little egocentric. He probably will do better on his own. I don't think he knows how to plan a team. And by the way, the last thing I'm going to say, because I'm going on Tim Pool's tonight, so I'm going to say it anyways later, is that I'm pretty sure, wasn't it Steven Crowder who also screwed over somebody he used to work with? Was it not Gay Jared because he had him tied up in a contract?
Now, this is also a clear talking point that was set out by Daily Wire because I saw several of their personalities bring this up or allude to it. I don't know anything about that situation. So I don't have any connection to him. If he did get screwed over by Steven, he's welcome to reach out to me and I would happily report on it. But I also think, again, like, what's the point of that? And she offers no details. She just says, oh, you screwed him over because he signed an NDA. Well, he didn't have to sign the NDA, right? Aren't you also saying, like, well, he didn't have to sign it? Well, Jared didn't have to sign that NDA either. Now, I don't know if he did or not. That would be interesting. I'd be happy to talk to him. Jared, reach out to me.
Wasn't that Steven Crowder who did that? So is he supposed to be the moral high bar? Are we not supposed to call him out for that? Here's the thing. Steven, why don't you release not Gay Jared from his NDA and allow him to talk about how he felt he was treated by you? Because I know that at the Blaze, everyone says that you're actually not that nice. You treat people poorly, but you bring in so much revenue that everybody just has to take it. So
again, this is hearsay. I know half a dozen people that work for the Blaze and have never said that. Maybe they told Candace, but not me. He also doesn't work at the Blaze studio. He doesn't interact with just about anybody at the Blaze. So I'm not sure how many people at the Blaze have worked with him. Now, maybe if there are Blaze people who come out now and say, like, well, actually, she's right. I really didn't like Steven Crowder. Maybe that's true. But I mean, like, I know personally several people that work there, and none of them have confirmed this. So is she making it up? Probably. Not a good look. I think Candace did a lot of damage to them, even though, they had I think they were in a strong position before she popped off. And then before she went on Timcast, I mean, the chat on Timcast was just roasting her nonstop for an hour. So I'm not sure that she did quite the damage control that she had hoped, but I don't know. It just doesn't come off as very good. I'm looking forward to a amicable end to this. Hopefully Steven and them can just say, like, all right, well, let's just focus on our own thing. Clearly, Steven needs to just go out on his own. He needs to focus on doing that. And Daily Wire needs to just focus on doing what they did because, they've done good work. I don't want to say that they haven't.
On to Steven Crowder. So around the same time, actually, 6 years ago-ish, I was also offered a position with Crowder at his company. It was around the time when they flew me to Dallas. I was on the Louder with Crowder show. We did that like Disney princess skit, which was a lot of fun. Crowder offered for me to work with them. He gave me an offer that was, for perspective of how low the Daily Wire offer was, he gave me an offer that was about just under half of what the Daily Wire offered me. He did offer me a lot of creative control. I asked, like, well, what would you want the show to look like? And he basically said, what are you interested in? It basically was him just saying, I like what you're doing. Come do it for me. It was a fair offer. It was generous. But the thing is, at the same time, Blaze gave me a better offer. Or I think at the time, CRTV, gave me a better offer that was just over double what the Daily Wire had offered. So, I went with CRTV. It also allowed me to be remote. Crowder would have had me move to Dallas. And, at the time with all these offers, something that I was weighing, and some people will say that I'm crazy for this, but I had been dating Liam, my now husband, for like 5 or 6 months. And I knew it was something that was going to be serious and long-term. And I didn't want to leave for a job that would mean we either have to be long distance so early in the relationship or break up. So that was a huge consideration also in I guess, me not taking these jobs. And I know some people will hear that and think you're crazy, but no, like, I always knew that I wanted to prioritize relationships this is like besides the point. Anyway, so turned down that offer, worked with CRTV, which is also incidentally why Steven Crowder does not like me. Because here's the thing about Steven Crowder, and like where some of my criticisms of him come in. He is and this is a good and a bad thing. He is someone who makes business personal. I think that's pretty clear from the situation we are seeing. If you have ever been to Crowder's show and seen how they operate, his parents are part of his company. His mom and dad, at least when I was there, and I think probably still, they work with him. He employs some people where he employs both the siblings. It really is, for the longest time, they were operating his show out of his house, his basement. So people were, his employees were actually in his home like a lot of the time. His wife and a bunch of the other people's wives, they watched the live show together at the time when it was like weekly. So it really is like a family affair. And so because it's such a personal thing for him, this is looking back at what I know now about Steven and what I know now about how he operated with the Blaze, I'm going to say I don't even like how I necessarily acted. I think he took it as a personal slight when I didn't come work for him. Or maybe I should have spent more time. Like I should have talked to him personally after and saying like, thank you so much for bringing me into your home. I realized that this is a close family you're inviting me to be a part of, but ultimately it just doesn't make sense. I should have done that. I regret not doing that. I kind of did treat it like a very like superficial job offer. So that's on me. I would not act the same way again. So apologies to Steven Crowder. Wow, sorry. I'm like, I was kind of an asshole, I'm realizing, just because of how he views business. Who did not expect to cry. So sorry for that. Just because, yeah, I see how obviously important his work is to him, and I probably seemed like a huge dick to him at the time, which wasn't my intention. So sorry about that. With that being said, though, I am, for other reasons, kind of happy that I didn't work for him, because Steven Crowder he can be somewhat of a really hard person to work for. I think you all remember Not Gay Jared. If you've been watching Steven Crowder for a long time, Not Gay Jared did not leave under good circumstances, nor did Sven Computer. Steven Crowder can be a lot. And I don't even think this is something that he would deny, that he can be a lot to handle as a boss. Type A personality, perfectionist. He can be a bit of a diva, is what I'm saying. And so I knew both Crowder's and Daily Wire's faults going into this. And so I knew that, look, you're dealing with people who the bottom line is everything. They will try to offer you as little as they possibly can, versus Crowder, who takes business very personally and who, yes, can be a bit of a diva and who like is big on like showing respect and stuff like that. This was never going to work. I'm going to go or negotiate. Okay. Matt G says, taking business personally is like taking jokes literally. Your perception does not equal their intention. Okay. Even by Jeremy Boring's own admission, he was lowballing Steven Crowder around 50% and offering clauses in there that were unnecessary and restrictive. Jeremy's position is still like when I talked to him 6 years ago that, hey, it's just business. You can always negotiate. I'm going to start off by lowballing the hell out of you. That's fine. He can do business that way. But I reject the idea, because it's objectively not true, that this is how everybody does business, because it's not the case. Okay, people are acting as if Steven Crowder has never seen a contract or an offer before. Steven Crowder has been in the business for like 10 years. He's worked for CRTV. He's worked for The Blaze. He's worked for Pajamas Media. He used to work for Fox. Do you think this is a man who has never had to negotiate before? Of course not. But I think he probably agrees, like I do, that at a certain point, people are wasting your time. And, you shouldn't, if you really are friends with someone for 10 years, I would hope that you give them at least initial offer that's relatively good, not a 50% lowball. That's, I think, where a lot of this conflict has come from. And that's the thing. Jeremy Boring admits that he included stuff that he didn't think Crowder would keep. He included it, I'm guessing, just to include it. Maybe you would be able to include some things that he wouldn't notice, or he'd be okay with it. So you're going to shoot your shot. His business model is clearly, we're going to lowball him, try as many restrictions as humanly possible, and, see what they'll accept. Which, like, that's the thing. It's not fair for us on the outside to assume that Matt Walsh or Candace Owens or Michael Knowles has such and such stipulation based on Crowder's contract, because Jeremy Boring admits that they would be willing to negotiate points, and he admits that every talent ends up having different contracts. It kind of seems like at the Daily Wire, you have as much freedom and money as you're willing to push them for. So my hope is that all of the hosts who are there, they're really strong negotiators who, like Candace Owens, are willing to spend months and months hammering points down with the Daily Wire's lawyers so they all have great contracts. It's not fair for us from the outside to assume, and I'm going to specifically bring up Brett Cooper because she's someone else who has kind of been thrown under the bus unfairly for this whole situation. It's not fair for us to assume, that she is being exploited, that she doesn't know how to negotiate her own contracts. She was a child actor, guys. She's from LA. I'm sure that this kind of stuff is not new to her. It's not fair for us to assume that all of them are towing the line because they're going to be demonetized and lose out pay if YouTube is mad at them. The issue that I think, where things get thorny is that, was this throwing Daily Wire specifically under the bus? And here's the thing. I knew from that video right away that this was Daily Wire. I knew it, but he didn't name them. A lot of people are acting as if he publicly called them out. He didn't. I think that's worth something. We can have a discussion as to whether it was too much of a, I don't want to say dog whistle, but like it was too much of a give to include screenshots of the contract because people were piecing together how tiny the redacted part was. We could clearly see it was Daily Wire. That's a contract. But I think it is important to say that he isn't the one who came out naming names. And I think it is important that we have this conversation, especially like so many of us in this sphere, whether we're independent or with a network, we depend on audience support. Crowdfunding, right? And so I think it is useful to have like this conversation. It probably didn't need to be as messy as it's being about how contracts are working, where the money that you're donating, to these creators, where exactly is that going? Because I do think that people might be hesitant to donate to somewhere like the Daily Wire with their subscription if they know that, oh, by the way, if Crowder's there, and even if I'm paying for the paywall, if YouTube doesn't like what he says, he's getting less money. A lot of people would take issue with that. And I also think there are a lot of people who message me saying, I would love to do what you're doing. I want to get in the conversation. I want to get out there. I think it's important for those people to know that, hey, you don't have to accept these terms. This isn't just business as usual. There are tons of people out there, tons of organizations out there who aren't going to try to ream you and own your firstborn son even if it's just initial contract negotiations, they would still never even propose something like that. So I appreciate that Crowder's trying to have this conversation. I think it was done emotionally though. I think the fact that he wanted to include specifically the offer he received, I think it was done out of, I don't want to it was a snap reaction. This was something he felt personally hurt by the offer that Jeremy sent. Cause like I said, that is a personality quality that Steven has. I think he does hold grudges. He takes business very personally. He definitely took this personally and is holding a grudge about it. So I think he did want to use the contract he personally was given. This was personal. If he didn't want to make it personal, he could have just said, hey guys, I'm starting my own network because of this, and this problem I've seen in the media sphere. If you're new talent, come to me. That's not what he chose to do. Okay. He chose to specifically use his own contract and do a call out.
Let me ask you even further. What would it take for you to be willing to walk away from at least $50 million because of it causing harm to someone else that doesn't even affect you, but the next kid?
So his argument, which, okay, I don't know about that. His argument is, well, he's walking away from this and he's basically a freedom fighter. That sounds so dramatic that I'm saying it. I'm not trying to be condescending here. I'm saying he's looking at it like, I'm not doing this just for me and not the money. I'm doing this on principle. And, I'm letting my voice be heard as far as I think this is a bad idea and I don't want other people to do it. So this is more so why he is doing it. I will say, with terms, I can't have to keep considering that this was kind of the first bit of terms and it could have been negotiated either way. Usually that first draft, look, I've been in these deals, even with my little contribution stuff that I do with Blaze, that took months to make happen, right? Because it just had to be right. And that's kind of the way that it go. And sometimes it won't even look like that first draft. So I'm trying to be considerate, certainly, of that. But, if he thinks that, kudos to him. If he thinks that just simply declining this is going to ring the alarm and stop people from doing these crappy deals, kudos to him. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's going to work, but shout out. Shout out.
Hey guys, so I'm not sure if you've seen, but Steven Crowder made a video about an offer he received from the Daily Wire. He criticized DW for supporting big tech on January 17th. Jeremy Boring, the CEO of DW, made a response video. And then on January 18th, Steven posted another video where he played part of a conversation with Jeremy that he had recorded on the phone without Jeremy knowing. The whole thing's crazy. Given Dad is signed with DW, I thought I'd comment a bit about the contract as I run my dad's brand and help negotiate the contract that Dad signed, as well as tell you what working with DW has been like. Also, I like Steven Crowder. I think he's extremely entertaining. I've watched him comment on the election. It's funny. My guess is the point of this whole thing must be to launch something that would be considered in competition with DW, his own platform. That's my guess. I have no idea if that's true. And that would be fine. The more, the merrier. There should be more conservative platforms out there, but that's no reason to tear each other down and create drama, in my opinion. I thought I should address his insinuation, though, that people working at DW are locked into contracts they don't like, taken advantage of and forced to do whatever DW says, because that makes my dad look naive and incompetent, of which he is neither. So I like Steven again, but I think things need explaining on our end anyway. So it was a complicated negotiation. We negotiated like crazy over the contract. It was like a movie level of intense. It was fun, but it was intense. We weren't giving them anything we weren't more than happy to give them, and they were doing the same to us. We ended up with a contract that kept Dad's podcast on YouTube for free, which was insane that was allowed, I think, given the amount of money that was on the table. Left out his other projects, left out his books, left out touring, and gave him the freedom to pursue what he wants in the future, and gave him access to their production team, advertising budget, and audience on DW Plus, and more. They offered Dad production value and a level of support we couldn't have and didn't do ourselves. Like, their team is huge. They have way more money than us. The reason his podcast looks better now is because they literally fly people out to film Dad's guests. That's crazy. They fly a crew to film his guests, and he records twice a week. They fly around with Dad so he doesn't have to set up Zoom podcasts anymore, and he has all these like fancy camera angles. They do everything. He just walks in and records now. He can record from anywhere, so he's not even forced to like be in a studio. They go 3 hours away from his house to film the podcast at his cottage, so it's convenient for him. They were on tour all over Europe, Australia. It's crazy. He wanted to film some documentaries, and they have a team ready to go to make whatever documentaries he wants. So now he has one on the Bible Museum. He's recorded 2 more. They took over filming for his tour. So before DW, we were filming his shows on tour to have the footage, but it was in a pretty simple way. You can set it up with the venue. You can get pretty nice footage depending on the venue, but you can't get the type of footage DW is getting with the budget they have and the budget we had for filming. So now all of my dad's lectures are filmed professionally, like kind of like Netflix style, which makes everyone in my family happy because he's not going to be around forever. I want that footage for like memory's sake or whatever. So we get that back after the deal's over. And while the deal's on, the tours are on DW Plus. They filmed an Exodus roundtable discussion that Dad came up with that took 2 weeks to film, $1 million producing it. We couldn't have done that. They had a large group of people helping him with social media. We had one person. At the moment, I'm virtually certain they're not recouping what they're paying Dad to be on their platform and spending on production. He's also still free on YouTube. There's just extra content, basically, just to produce his content. The team's quite enjoyable to work with, and if we want to remove things off of social media or talk about whatever, we can do whatever. They basically just helped us boost production, gave us an opportunity to pursue projects with a Hollywood-level team, and paid us a ton of money. And I believe that. That's actually what happened. The original contract didn't start that way, but that's normal for a contract, for a business contract. That's why it's called a business negotiation. Even if you're trying to buy a house, you're like, what's the house worth? Okay, offer less, right? That's just how you negotiate business. It's a lot of money that they were offering, so everyone on both sides was careful about what the deal was. Anyway, I think conservatives should be working together to fight common enemies. The woke crowd that's taking over the world, destroying Canada, trying to stop us from eating meat, confusing our kids, fighting capitalism, freaking people out about the climate, keeping people scared and indoors, burning down areas and cities, destroying California and other liberal cities, limiting freedom of speech, forcing vaccines on people. That needs to be fought tooth and nail, and fighting amongst each other is not a good way to go about that. We have bigger problems out there. So our experience with DW is that they're definitely sharks. They know business, they know social media, production, products, content, and they know how to negotiate. Luckily, so do we, which is why it's been a great partnership so far. And obviously, I am not one of the DW crew. So this is all coming from someone who's like attached to it, but pretty outside of it. It's not like Jeremy's calling me up being like, Mikhaila, you're not part of it. You do it. To look good. That wasn't happening.
He comes out, he makes this glorious video, which it's shocking to me that people cannot see the amount of acting that is going into this. We all understand he was a childhood actor. He was on, I loved that show, Arthur. He was the brain. Like he is an actor. At the end of the day, he's an actor. It's also why he's so entertaining when it comes to politics. He's a talented person, but that people cannot discern the amount of acting that has gone on in this is stunning to me. I don't know where people's discernment, what's gone on with discernment, where you can't just spiritually discern that this feels a little weird, right? You're recording conversations with someone that you have told us you are friends with forever. Oh, and by the way, at the end of you saying that you're just trying to do the right thing, you're also saying, I'm going to launch my own thing, right? So just when I first saw the first video that he dropped, obviously I'm not privy to negotiations that happened at the Daily Wire. I had no idea they were negotiating with Steven Crowder. Again, not my business. I came into work one day, suddenly Brett Cooper was there. Not my business. I don't know who they're hiring. I don't own the company, right? But what I started getting was after I had dropped my podcast, in the comment section, everyone was basically tearing me apart, being like, blink twice if you need help, for a signal like I'm a hostage situation, or saying, well, if you don't say anything about Steven Crowder, you're a fraud, just like suddenly you're a fraud. So I go and I watch this video, and just like everybody else watching it live, his first video, your instincts are like, whoa, he's throwing some bombs. He's calling it big con. He's saying essentially that we are enslaved by these contract terms. He actually uses the term enslavement. If you don't want to be a slave, you maybe you'll come work with me. I'm going to figure it out for all of us. Like, you're a hero, you're a martyr. And because I was getting so many comments, the first thing I did was that I messaged my EP and I said, we have to cover this tomorrow on the show, because now everyone thinks I'm a fraud and they think that I've signed with fraudulent terms or slave-like terms. And that's so totally unfair to me. So my interest in this is that it hit me and it hit everybody else at the Daily Wire, and it was unfair.
Do you, I don't know, you don't have to answer this, I guess, but do you have a similar contract?
There are certain terms I recognize. That's why I immediately knew it was Daily Wire. So, for example, the fee reduction if you miss a day of work, right? Like if you miss a day of work, we are paying for X amount of episodes, and this is a steep amount if you miss one day of work. When you first see that, when I first received a contract from the Daily Wire, I went, that's a shocking number to see. Then you have to calculate, and by the way, mine was not this. I want to be very clear. I don't have a $50 million contract. If there's anything I should be upset about, it's that they were going to pay that much to Steven Crowder, right?
Not you.
I need to go renegotiate my contract. But so you see it, and it's shocking, and then you read under, which is what he did not include when he says, so if I get hit by a car, like I'm just gonna $100,000 a day. He didn't tell you how much he made. You don't know what $100,000 means unless you can see what were they offering him, and you can calculate yourselves. Okay, so what they're basically saying is that we're paying you $63,000 a day. You know what I'm saying? He purposely excluded right beneath it that says that actually it's pro rata if in event of an emergency. That's a very insignificant thing that would allow people not to be enraged at seeing this.
That's what he said in the rebuttal.
Yeah,
it's not about me. It's about the Daily Wire signing new upcoming young people to these terms, and they don't. And in
that capacity, he hits Brett Cooper. Right now, he's basically, so who is a young upcoming talent that got signed with the Daily Wire? There's only 5 hosts of shows on the Daily Wire. I mean, so you're talking about Matt Walsh? No, he's not young upcoming talent that's just been signed. You're talking about Michael Knowles? No, he's not young upcoming. You're not talking about Candace Owens. I don't think we would say Andrew Klavan is young upcoming talent. So you're talking about Brett Cooper. That's insulting to Brett Cooper. You have no idea he's just saying shit, right? And it's not like he's reached out to us and said, hey, like, I'm doing this for all of us. Like, he reached out independently to Daily Wire hosts and been like, are you dealing with these egregious terms? No, he is doing this purely, let's not even try to make this anything but a selfish act that was to benefit Steven Crowder, who wants to launch his own network. Because, and by the way, I gotta say this is the most important part of this, and nobody is talking about this. He receives the term sheet, okay? And he thinks it's so egregious that he's got to make this video 4 months later, right? I don't know what happened in those 4 months after they started negotiating. I guess Steven Crowder woke up, new year, new me. I hate the Daily Wire, so I'm going to go after them. He thinks it's so egregious. The first thing he does is counteroffer and say, let's start talking about $140 million, okay? So if it was so outrageous, why did he go back to them and say, no, actually, we can have this conversation, but let's start talking about $140 million, right? It was only when the Daily Wire then turned that down that the term sheet became so egregious that he had to do something about it.
I'll just add real quick to everybody. Steven Crowder is coming on the show on Monday. I know he's not here to defend himself.
Did you speak to him? Because he might have recorded your conversation. So you might want to come to him about whatever the hell it is you said to him.
I mean, yeah, my view is I was kind of surprised to hear that Steven recorded the phone call with Jeremy because I don't know why you would.
Oh, by the way, it should be mentioned, that conversation, so they stopped negotiating completely, which Jeremy made clear in his video. This was over. He doesn't even know what this is coming from because this conversation stopped when Steven Crowder then came back with a counter term sheet offer of a glorious $140 million over X amount of years. And they said, we just can't do this, right? Then he sat and he stewed and he said nothing until 1 week ago. He reaches out to Jeremy and he asks him to talk on the phone. And that was 1 week ago. That is the conversation that you guys are all hearing that he is playing right now. So he plotted this. This is a plot line. He planned to then record him to go back and to make this video. If he had recorded this way back during negotiations, maybe you could say there was no plot. Why did he reach out to Jeremy exactly 1 week ago when they hadn't discussed anything pertaining to the contract and they said no and walked away last year around October, November? And then suddenly in January, he reaches out 1 week ago and says, hey, can we get on the phone? And he decides, maybe I should record this. Well, no, it's because he realized he had nowhere left to go. And his next plot in this storyline, in this terrible childhood acting that he's doing right now, was, okay, I have to do my own thing now. And so I need to drum up some drama to get everybody that I know to believe that I am a martyr for our beliefs and they should dump their subscriptions to everybody else that's part of BigCon and join the Mug Club. How can people not see? I mean, the writing is just so on the wall.
The fact that he recorded Jeremy says that he did plan. Look, I'm not here to impugn his honor. I think you're absolutely entitled to your view, having working with the Daily Wire and everything you've seen. But it does suggest that he knew he was calling Jeremy for this reason. I think Crowder is. I don't know if I think it might be too far for me to believe that Crowder is trying to do this to pull subscribers from Daily Wire or make more money for himself, because the dude already makes a lot of money. But
he does not. He thinks that he is worthy of $140 million a year. Do you believe that Steven Crowder right now is making $140 million a year?
I bet he could.
You bet he could?
I absolutely
You bet he could, but how's he got to do that? How's he got to start that? He just had a couple of kids. How's he got to start that? You launch a war in the conservative movement and you move people away from a business that you want to model. I don't know who's modeling who. I don't know who started this first. But you basically say, I'm not them. Come with me. And that's exactly what he's doing. Call a spade a spade. Call a spade a spade, okay? This was a plot line, and that annoys me because he dragged me into this plot line, okay? He dragged us all into this plot line. He's basically saying, at one point in his video, this is what really set me off. He's like, and so you might be noticing that a lot of these people, their viewpoints are sanitized, and this is why. This contract, this is why. Essentially saying that Candace is controlled, Matt Walsh is controlled, Michael Knowles is controlled, Brett Cooper is controlled, and now we know why, guys, because I have this contract, which I've conveniently excerpted portions that could allow you to discern for yourself, but it's actually not that unreasonable as a starter conversation, which is what a term sheet is, right? And instead, I'm just going to smear all of these people that are associated with the Daily Wire, and that's why I'm pissed off. That's why I'm pissed off, because I then was fielding comments calling me a fraud because they thought that I agreed to these terms and that my voice was being controlled.
You know what I told Steven? I said, I think ideologically I understand his gripe with the contracts, and I agree with the contracts. We don't do contracts the way the Daily Wire does.
There was no contract. I just want to say that one more time.
Right. So contract, different term. Terms. I don't do terms the way the Daily Wire does. I also am, the way it's like the Joe Rogan story I often tell, that he booted me from his show twice, and I didn't get mad at him. I was like, well, I'm kind of pissed off that he booted me twice, like happened twice, and I flew out to LA, but he doesn't owe me any favors. I'm not going to rag on Joe Rogan because he didn't do me a favor. If I was on his show, it'd be really great for me. It didn't work out. I'm going to carry on with my life and my business. I've negotiated with the Daily Wire. We couldn't figure out something that worked. We're very different in that sense. And I said, well, it was nice hanging out, and let's work on stuff in the future, and we'll make awesome stuff. I told Steven, I said, I think that the Daily Wire is a massive net positive, especially with like What Is a Woman? I mean, that was a massive cultural force that got even mainstream, like moderate lefty types to be like, oh yeah, I've seen that, and start this conversation. Then you did the BLM documentary, of course, that had, I don't think it was nearly as big as What Is a Woman, but it certainly had a cultural response. These things are tremendous. And so my attitude is like, look, I don't like the contracts of, like, they're very business-like, the very entertainment industry. I understand that the Daily Wire does it. If someone came to me and said, we're going to get investors, we're going to get some prominent conservative voices, and we're going to launch a company that rivals Disney, I'd be like, man, I don't like Disney. And they'll go, yeah, but it will be America-loving, independently minded, meritocratic. I'll say, oh, I'll take that over Disney any day. And then I'll go and do my thing that I think should be the way I want it to be. And I'm not going to be mad at the Daily Wire for the Daily Wire doing a thing. Like,
yeah, Bill, what you're describing first and foremost are the free markets, right? If you don't like it somewhere, leave. I thought we were conservatives. I thought that's what we were trying to preserve, right? A free market mentality. If Daily Wire is so awful, right, and so predatory and treating their talent so horrifically, they'd have no talent, right? Then literally, Steven Crowder wouldn't have to launch a war. He just have to launch an alternative business with better contract, and people would leave willingly. They would say, "There's more money there. There's better treatment. I'm leaving." That's how the free markets work, right? Because he did not feel, maybe he's feeling a little insecure. He thought that he was a free agent. He feels like he's Tom Brady. Everyone's going to make me all these offers. And he felt like it came in extremely low. Tom Brady. I'm Tom Brady. Why am I getting offered $50 million? I should be offered $140 million. And the team says, no, thank you, Tom Brady. And then he goes, well, I'm effing Tom Brady. Well, the truth is like, I think Steven Crowder was feeling insecure. I think he was reeling after those negotiations. I think there are very few conservative networks that can offer him that money. He's actually, he's burned a few bridges, right? Fox News, he's burned a bridge. He's burned a bridge with the Blaze. How many other companies in the conservative movement does he think can reasonably afford to pay him what he thinks he's worth, right? The Daily Wire. So when he was done, I think that he was feeling tremendously insecure, right? When those negotiations failed in October or November, he stewed on it in November, stewed on it in December, came up in January and decided, okay, I'm going to have to launch my own outfit. I'm going to go after the Daily Wire. And his plot line included calling Jeremy Boring, catching him on we only have seen a piece of his conversation. Jeremy has already tweeted that he called him like, hey, let's catch up. And now he was like, let's talk about the kids and Christmas. They were friends. Very close friends, okay? Steven Crowder has said they were friends, not colleagues, not associates, not, like I would say me and Matt Walsh and we're associates, but friends. He called his friends to talk about Christmas and his kids and said he recorded him and then dropped that recording a week later, pretending that he was doing this to be a martyr. I just don't see how people don't realize this guy is a fundamentally bad person. Like, I don't understand how this is even a debate.
The phone call thing's rough. I mean,
who records their friends? With friends like these, who needs enemies? Who needs the left when we've got friends like these in the conservative movement?
I don't know how to solve the problem.
Yeah, but what's your gut instinct telling you? Because I'm not going to let you be agnostic. You've got the facts in front of you. You're watching the videos. Like, what is your gut telling you about this situation?
It was wrong for Crowder to record Jeremy. I'm shocked to see that he registered Stop Big Con a month before he recorded the phone call, which says that he's been planning this for some time. I do think Steven Crowder is ideologically motivated. I don't think it's effective right now with what's going on to go after the Daily Wire when you have things like Disney and Netflix to be angry about. The Daily Wire is producing stuff that I think is very important and good. Notably, the documentary you did on BLM. Notably, the documentary Matt Walsh did, What is a Woman? And so I'm just like, is this the appropriate thing to be doing? I don't know if Crowder should be. I do think that Crowder is right in that these contracts are not good for people starting up. That being said, I do understand, like, Brett Cooper's probably infinitely better off because of it. You know what I mean? It's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing.
Of course. I didn't know who Brett Cooper was, and now I'm like, she's amazing. Like, her show is so great. And so
And that video recording that Crowder has, I just heard it for the first time with this video. Jeremy's right. She's going to work for him, and she's going to leave very famous, and she's going to be worth millions of dollars after that fact. Yeah. I recognize that. Luke told me a while ago before I worked for Disney not to do it. I said, yeah, but look, I worked for them for a couple of years. I get paid a lot of money. I can invest in another company. And I ended up doing that. And I had a really bad experience really, really quickly. But I did get paid enough money to start all of this. So it's like, maybe it's easy for me to say.
Don't join the Disney cult. The Mickey Mouse is not good for you, Tim. Don't do it.
The dark side's
don't
too
sell
strong.
out to the corporations.
He's enough though. He can put himself in the presence of the emperor and still maintain the light.
But hey,
Disney owns Star Wars, so easy.
But this is my aversion to these contracts. It was 2 years where the company instantly went woke and it locks you up. And I'm like, so I think my ultimate view is, I don't think Crowder should be waging this in a way that's damaging to the Daily Wire, but I do think he should be leading a charge in changing the business landscape of the space. And then, there's a net positive way to do it.
I would have thought you would have been bigger and better if you didn't sign with Disney. You would have been on your own, and you would have been 2 years ahead of where you are now.
That's entirely possible.
And that's why I was like, don't do it. No.
Imagine if I just started doing this show instead of going and working there, being stuck for 2 years.
I think your experience inside the belly of the beast is invaluable.
But hey, I had nowhere to sleep. Whose couch would I be sleeping on when you were covering all those crazy protests, right? I needed a couch. Look. So I'm happy that happened.
What I'll say is, my view of it is this. I think the Daily Wire is going to be a media enterprise, and it's going to look like you're going to see two hot rods. One's got a pride flag on it. One's got a Gadsden flag on it. They're both hot rods. Okay, me, I'm not a hot rod guy. I don't drive those things. I'm going to get my electric motorbike or a moped or something. I don't got beef with people who are driving a hot rod. But, I'd rather hang out with the guys who got the Gadsden flag thing. Am I going to buy the car? No. Am I going to, pay to drive around in it? No. But I think it's cool that you got it, and I'd rather that than the other one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that being said, I'm just looking at a mathematical formula. If the Daily Wire succeeds, is it good for us? 100% yes, absolutely. Is it the system I would build? No, it's absolutely not. But I like the Daily Wire. You know what I mean? I watch Disney stuff. I stopped subscribing. I don't have a Netflix subscription either. I don't fault people for wanting entertainment. We have to build the machine we want to see, and then people can leave. So if Crowder, in my opinion, wants to make something where he thinks he can do better contracts, my approach, if I was him, would be, guys, I tried doing a deal with these companies. I think their deals are bad. I understand they produce content that's probably good. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a machine that's better. I'm going to do better contracts for you. Quite literally, that is what I'm doing.
That's literally all he had to say.
What's going on? Remember me? No. No? You don't remember me at all? Steven Crowder at all? No, not familiar? This is you threatening to slash my tires here? Quick question for you. Why would you encourage people to firebomb my van?